Greetings, Internet. I've returned to ramble at you again. Today's topic, distribution and sale of diecast, how it's done. In particular, the focus on Matchbox. Now, there are two main ways that diecast cars are distributed and sold. And Matchbox is, I think, unique in the way that it's transitioned from one to the other over time. Let's look at a car first of all, though. If anybody's ever told you that diecast cars are boys' toys, it is objectively incorrect. Because the first Matchbox car wasn't actually a car, it was a road roller. It was built by an engineer for his daughter. That was the beginning of the Matchbox brand. And right from the beginning, Matchbox had a vision which basically you can see in what they call the 1 to 75 range. Now, I don't have any older Matchboxes than this. This one came quite a lot after the Road Roller. This is a Citroen SM. It dates from 1977 in the case of this model. But it was first made in 1971. We can look at the bottom and get some good information. So you can see, 1971, Lesney products. Lesney is the company behind Matchbox. Matchbox is just a brand, not an actual company. Lesney is the company. Number 51 refers to the car's place in that range. So 75 different models. This one is number 51. When eventually they decide to get rid of the Citroen SM, it's no longer relevant, another car will become number 51. Now, Matchbox was started in 1953, and Lesney kept making them until 1982. In 82, the company went bankrupt, and it was bought by a Hong Kong consortium, which renamed the company to Matchbox International. So this cool G-Wagon from 1984, you can see underneath it says Matchbox International Limited. Now they don't have the number in the collection on this particular model, but they still went for this like set range which involved a certain number of cars all available at the same time. Now, that consortium that made Matchbox International eventually sold it to Tyco. Tyco is an American company. They were bought in 97 by Mattel. And of course, Mattel, they make Hot Wheels. So, we look at a more modern Matchbox model, like this field car. This one, 2020 Mattel. Yep. There's the elephant because it's made in Thailand. I love that little elephant. The field car is very interesting because this is a remake of a much older model. I remember having a yellow one with a fabric roof and no windows. The more modern one, of course, metal roof with windows and a much more kind of aggressive stance, bigger wheels. Very interesting sort of reimagining of the same idea. It's a fantasy car, but it's cool. But anyway, Mattel owning Matchbox as well as Hot Wheels, to me that's like one company owning Pepsi and Coke. It's a really weird situation. And it caused Matchbox to change how they sell things. So both of these models were part of what I would call a fixed roster system of like distributing and selling diecast cars. Another company that still follows that model today is Tomica. Here is a Tomica Toyota Crown police car. This is one of the longest running models in their range, and looking at the bottom we can see this is number 110. Tomica have a series of 120 models, and they swap out and swap in cars But the Toyota Crown has been in their roster for a very long time because, police car. All little kids want a police car. And this is the standard Japanese police car. 110 also is the squad car's number. This serves an extra purpose because this teaches children the number that you call to call the police. In Japan, it's 110. Fire and ambulance are 119, oddly enough. Two different numbers, don't know why. So Tomica number all their cars. So 110 is this one. And the premium line is just the same, it's just got fewer cars in it. Number 1 has constantly been this car, the Skyline R30 Silhouette Racer. This was a real racing car. This is a beautifully detailed model of that car. And it's been a consistent sort of top seller in their premium line ever since its inception, as far as I'm aware. But, you go to a toy shop in Japan, almost certainly you won't find Matchbox, but you will find big racks of Tomica cars with a beautiful display of all the models available in many places. They don't often have the premiums, which is a shame, but they usually have all of the basic line. So you can see exactly what the car looks like, and you get a box, which is a bit like this. This box is for this Corgi Matra Rancho. This one was not actually sold, it was a free gift from BP petrol stations. You would collect tokens, and once you redeem 4 tokens, you could get a car. I think you could also get articulated lorries if you got more tokens. But the point is the box. The box is very cheap to make. There's no window, no plastic. All it's got is printing on it to tell you what the car is. Tomica boxes have pictures of the cars on them, but you can see the actual car on a rack in front of you. So you don't need a kind of elaborate packaging system. So, how have Matchbox changed? Well, in the Lesney era or the Matchbox International era, both of these will be available year-round, in some cases, for many years. Whereas when we look at the Mattel era, this field car would not have been available all the time. They use the same system that they use for Hot Wheels, which is a by-the-case model. What happens is a shop will buy a case. Usually they're labelled with letters like A, B, C case or whatever, A case, B case, C case through the year. Different cases become available. And perhaps shops get the chance to order the case that they want, or maybe they don't have a chance to choose which case, they just get whichever's in stock. Ultimately, though, what it means is the selection available in a shop is more limited. And it's not really under the control of the shop so much as it is under the control of Mattel. There's 250 models in the Hot Wheels collection every year. This one is number 10. But when's the last time you saw all 250 models in a shop at the same time? The chances are you never have. It's this phenomenon which produces what we call the hunt. If you're a Hot Wheels or Matchbox collector, you'll be familiar with going to the shops to see what's new, see what new models are available for you. This is what's prompted me to make this video, partly. I went to a car show where they were selling Hot Wheels, and I finally found 2 things that I've been looking for a long time. Here is the Hirahata Merc, a 1951 Mercury Coupe Custom. Originally, this was customized by George Barris, the famous LA customizer. It's a legendary vehicle and very beautiful. And this is amazing custom work. It defined the custom car, and also, you could argue, the California custom style, which is what the entire ethos of Hot Wheels is based on. So this is a really significant car. This is a Jaguar Mark 1. Not the same league of car, perhaps, but also an early 50s sporty, low-slung saloon, or coupe. This is a saloon, though. This is a real car, operated, as you may be able to see, by the Williams family. It's appeared at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. If you are a fan of Inspector Morse, this is very similar, but not quite, to his car. His car is a Mark II. This is a Mark 1. These have not been available in my area at all until I happened to see them at this car show. Because there's only a couple of these in every case that gets delivered to a shop. They sell out quickly. In order to restock, the shop has to buy a whole new case, including many models which are not these. It changes the dynamic very significantly. To really understand the difference between these strategies of selling diecast cars and why Matchbox might transition from one to the other, to look at different perspectives here. From the perspective of a large shop, using a fixed roster system is rather inconvenient. One reason is shelf space. If you go to a toy shop in Japan, you look at the Tomikas, you'll find a Tomica rack showing all 120 cars. And then below that, you'll find the little boxes like this, where they're kept in a rack. It takes up a lot of shelf space. Hot Wheels solve this by doing this. They have the car on a card in a plastic bubble, which displays the car as well as keeping the stock at the same time. So it combines the job. Tomica also now do bubbles on cards. You can buy the same car in different packaging. So that it gives shops more options and it also gives collectors more options. The other thing that is important is inventory. So for a by the case system, shops don't have to worry about individual cars. It's just, you take Hot Wheels to the till, beep, it's Hot Wheels basic assortment. It doesn't care which car you have. It simplifies things a lot, with a caveat. We'll come back to that. Looked at from our perspective, the buyer, the collector, a fixed roster system is much more convenient. It allows you to make a much more focused collection if you don't have to worry about buying things immediately. A by the case system is kind of fun. It's a great feeling when you find the thing you want. But conversely, when you don't find the thing you want, man, that sucks. And, if you have the peace of mind of knowing that, if the new hotness comes out and it's sold out everywhere, you just have to wait, a month, 2 months. You'll get it eventually. It'll still be available. You'll still have a chance. That's much more kind of relaxing. It's much more pleasant overall. We lose out on the kind of rush of finding the cool new thing sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. But we trade that for the peace of mind. I think that's a much better perspective. And here is where the caveat comes in. So I have to shout out Joe at Ignition Diecast. He runs a sort of online diecast shop. You can buy your Hot Wheels from him. Go do it if you're in the US. But he has said he doesn't want to buy cases anymore. It's not economically viable. And that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I mean, if there's only a dozen or so cars in each case which are actually worth buying the case for, then the rest of the case is not really desirable. It's full of peg warmers, essentially. It's really hard for him to make his money back. And, why do it? Why do it in that case? It doesn't make economic sense. Mattel is kind of making it not economically viable for him to sell Hot Wheels. It works for big shops, but not small shops, and not the consumer. It's kind of tragic, really, isn't it? Of course, I'm not against Mattel or any other company making a profit. I want them to. I want them to compete. I want them to outdo each other in terms of like the creativity of the models they're making. That's great. The problem comes when they're making money by screwing us over. And with FOMO as a marketing tactic, that's exactly what's happening. FOMO is fundamentally anti-consumer. It breeds disappointment at a basic level, but it also creates a scalper's market. And I think it's setting itself up to fail, but we'll come back to that. A scalper's market is created by FOMO because as soon as you limit the quantity of something, of course you're going to get people buying as many as they can and then reselling them. You know, this has always been a problem with, for example, ticket sales, which is where the scalpers come from, you know? But tickets are not artificially scarce, they're really scarce. You know, there's only a limited number of seats in an auditorium. You can only sell so many. But there's nothing stopping Mattel from making more of the models that people want and fewer of the things that people don't want. They're pushing on us cars, models that we don't want to make other cars that people do want more attractive. They're building FOMO. It's not useful. It's not good for us. It's not good for Mattel in the long run. I mean, I'm sure it makes them money now, but, well, look at Joe at Ignition Diecast. His decision to stop buying cases. I think that could happen on a much larger scale. My local supermarket. Last time I went, no dump bins, no Matchbox, no nothing. Completely gone. The week before, they had empty dump bins, which had tickets on the shelf that said reduced to clear and like lower than half price. I think they were getting rid of the stock that they couldn't sell. All the peg warmers that nobody wants. You know, maybe it's not making financial sense to them to stock Hot Wheels. Now, I'm in Britain, and Britain is circling the drain at this point, economically speaking. It's in absolute shambles. In other countries, maybe things are a little better. But, you know, it's not looking great, is it? I think this could spread. What's the way out of this? Well, if some genie made me boss of Mattel, I would immediately switch them over to the fixed roster system. I would say, reduce the number of cars that you make per year, but make more variations of them. You know, instead of making 250 plus variants, make 150, but like 3 variants each. Put them in blind boxes so you don't know which variant you're going to get. You've still got a sort of element of luck to buying, but you know, like if you want a Hero Hatter Merc, you can get one. Maybe it's going to be blue, maybe it's going to be pink, but maybe it's going to be a treasure hunt. You know, blind box will make treasure hunts much more treasure hunty, rather than, oh look, that's the one, get it, sell it on eBay. You know, it would make it much more special to find a treasure hunt. I don't know if that's the answer. I'm just a guy who needs more coffee. But, well, I hope your shit is better than my shit. Take care.